saddened by these devastating incidents that have impacted our communities, particularly affecting the lives of our children. These tragedies underscore a growing concern over the health, safety and hygiene practices in shops and food outlets across our communities, and highlight the urgent need for regulatory improvements in the essential establishments. To this extent, as the African National Congress, we call upon our national government to lead regulating the spaza shop environment and ensure that all spaza shops close down and register afresh to ensure that we've got the right people which are serving our communities in terms of business in the different communities. But over and above that, even deal with those who are operating illegal spaza shops, but also illegal in terms of immigration laws of our country. Spaza shops have long played a central role in our local communities. We must stop paying lip service and act now, providing affordable goods, creating jobs, and serving as accessible points of service for our communities. Their significance, especially in underserved areas, cannot be overstated. However, the rise in cases of foodborne illnesses, particularly affecting children, calls for immediate intervention. The ANC, in collaboration with all our structures and community partners, is engaging with stakeholders in law enforcement, government and local business association to introduce stricter health and safety protocols for these establishments. We're exploring the development of a tailored local bylaws to better regulate spaza shop operations and ensure public health is prioritized. The ANC has recently submitted its initial input to the Electoral Systems Panel, which is tasked with exploring electoral system options for future national and provincial elections. Our submission reflects our commitment to the principles of the Freedom Charter and our enduring dedication to democracy. We believe firmly in the principle that the people shall govern, and that no government is legitimate unless it's based on the will of the people. The proportional representation electoral system has served South Africa well for over 3 decades, fostering an inclusive, representative government that reflects the diversity of our society. This system has enabled fair representation for various social groups, including women, youth, LGBTIQI+ communities, and persons with disabilities. In 2024 alone, 55 political parties contested the national ballot, with 18 securing parliamentary seats, underscoring our nation's open and democratic spirit. The ANC submission emphasizes the importance of maintaining accountability, diversity, and transparency in any potential reforms. As we explore options with the Electoral Systems Panel, we'll continue to advocate for a system that reflects the values and aspirations of the South African people. The ANC will actively engage in this process, aligning our contributions with public feedback and democratic principles. Tomorrow, the 8th of November, the ANC will host the Walking with the People People's Walk in Tshwane, uniting and mobilizing citizens around a people-centered agenda, with an expected participation of many people, individuals from diverse communities. The walk aims to reinforce the people's mandate for transformative policies that prioritize service delivery, economic transformation, and tangible benefits for the people. The walk reflects our commitment to engaging with communities directly, ensuring their voices continue to guide our efforts. The ANC recognizes that our legitimacy is grounded in the trust and confidence of the people. This walk is a demonstration of our solidarity and resolve to address community concerns with accountability and dedication. Together, we advance our shared vision for inclusive, prosperous South Africa. This will take place in Tshwane tomorrow. As you know, that ANC have formed part of a government coalition in Tshwane, and we want to say to our representatives, serve our people with dedication and ensure that we deliver for our people in Tshwane, as one of the reasons that have led, in particular, to the collapse of government and government services, particularly in the constituencies that we serve. The ANC acknowledges the concerns raised by the South African Communist Party and reaffirms the value of our long-standing alliance within the Tripartite Alliance. However, we have noted the recent public statements by the SACP General Secretary Comrade Solly Mapaila, which appear to challenge ANC leadership and particularly target President Cyril Ramaphosa. While the ANC respects the SACP as a key ally, we believe that the differences within the alliance should be managed internally with the appropriate decorum, honoring our shared history and revolutionary principles. Comrade Solly Mapaila seems to be attacking the ANC and putting it, in particular its leadership, isolating the president in the realm of the enemy camp, not even opponents. That is worrisome for the African National Congress. We are having a scheduled bilateral meeting with the South African Communist Party. We wish to not dictate the Communist Party's dissent on the question of the government of national unity. But the perpetual attack and campaign to annihilate, to a certain extent, the leadership of the African National Congress and deface the face of the ANC leadership led by the president is worrisome to the African National Congress. The ANC-SACP alliance is rooted in a mutual commitment to the national democratic revolution and a free, non-racial, non-sexist democratic South Africa. We remain committed to addressing differences constructively, following the example set by revolutionary leaders such as Comrade Chris Hani, who valued unity and strategic compromise in advancing the people's interest. The ANC will meet with the SACP leadership to clarify whether recent statements reflect the official stance of the SACP or personal views of Comrade Solly Mapaila. But over and above that, to debate and understand the characterization of the SACP's total departure from how we understood each other before and after the establishment of the government of national unity. We have always respected Comrade Solly. We don't doubt his bona fides as a leader of the SACP, even now. But what he does, it borders on doubting the bona fides of the ANC leadership. And it boils down to personal attacks perpetually, which are very much worrisome. That's not how revolutionaries must approach each other and debate issues. We respect the right of the SACP in the context of the democratic debate in the alliance and our movement to engage openly and robustly on matters. And we look forward to this engagement with the SACP and other members of the Tripartite Alliance. It is no secret that even within our ranks in the ANC, comrades did have reservations about the government of national unity. At an ideological level, we have clarified what this means for the revolution in South Africa. And we have also clarified and characterized what this moment means. We cannot mourn forever. We have taken off, and the government of national unity is in operation as we speak. The African National Congress categorically rejects the baseless claims by Helen Zille regarding their alleged role in shaping South Africa's government of national unity. We view these claims as not only false but deliberately misleading, aiming to distort historical facts and elevate her importance in national matters where they lack any foundational relevance. Zille's repeated urge to interference in the internal affairs of the ANC and her ongoing public attacks on President Cyril Ramaphosa expose a shameless bid for power and influence, one she has neither earned nor will attain through such reckless posturing. We see through these calculated attempts to undermine the ANC's leadership. It is clear that Zille and her party seek only to weaken the ANC from within, hoping to gain what they cannot secure at the ballot box. This is not genuine criticism, but rather a desperate grasp at the relevance by a party failing to appeal to the vast majority of South Africans. As the ANC, we need no external figures to prop up our president. Our internal unity and the resolve of our members is testament to the mandate we have been entrusted with by the South African electorate. We stand as the legitimate representatives of our people, continuously renewing and strengthening our movement to uphold the will of the people. Zille's claims of introducing public-private partnerships to South Africa are nothing short of ludicrous. The ANC-led government has long pioneered cooperative projects that have led to the significant milestones, such as successful hosting of the 2010 FIFA World Cup and the development of the Gautrain, all achieved through effective planning and coordination under ANC leadership. To suggest otherwise is a transparent attempt to hijack the legacy of ANC-led governance for a party's political gain. In her remarks, Zille exposes her agenda to push herself into a position of undue influence within the GNU while undermining the ANC's foundational role. We need to make it very clear. If the DA want to leave the GNU, it's their call. They can leave tonight, they can leave tomorrow. Anytime they want to leave or they wish to leave, they can go. This divisive narrative lacks both historical truth and relevance to our current transformation efforts. Her intent is clear: to delegitimize the ANC's leadership and derail the transformative projects that are central to our national democratic revolution. However, these tactics will not deter us. The ANC remains resolute in delivering on its commitments, including the national health insurance rollout, strengthening social cohesion through the Bella Act, and attracting investments to build a thriving economy for all South Africans. Her attempts to portray herself as influential in our country's future. The reality is that South Africans have repeatedly chosen the ANC to lead, a mandate reaffirmed through democratic processes. Zile's conduct is a vivid reminder of her own deep-seated racial biases and a divisive agenda that attempts to exploit identity politics rather than foster genuine unity. From orchestrated marches to the Voortrekker Monument, to openly exclusionary rhetoric, the DA's pattern of behavior speaks volumes about its intentions and underlying values. They marched to Voortrekker Hoogte with an old flag and old colors in a democratic South Africa. They proudly stood there in a democratic South Africa with the backward forces in the name of fighting for what is good. As the ANC, we remain steadfast in our mission to serve all South Africans with all policies that address our country's real structural challenges. Zealous opportunism and identity-based divisions are a dangerous diversion, one that undermines the very fabric of our democracy and perpetuates the inequalities we are determined to eliminate. South Africans entrusted the ANC with a mandate to lead the GNU, and we will fulfill this responsibility with integrity, vision, and unwavering commitment to social justice. With our 40%, 6 million South Africans who have voted for us, we are in no mercy of everyone, Helen Zille, or anyone for that matter. We chose the path of the government of national unity, not because we did not have options. We chose the path of the government of national unity because we prioritized South Africa first. We prioritized our people. We prioritized stability for this country. And that is why we prioritize government of national unity. We invited everybody, not only the DA, and the DA wanted grand coalition. They wanted that, and we opted for GNU. And we can elaborate in the Q&A once and once again and repeat ourselves about this. We reaffirm our commitment to building a South Africa that is inclusive, progressive, and reflective of our democratic ideals. The ANC will continue to drive forward the transformation agenda, heedless of the Zille hollow rhetoric and relentless in its dedication to the prosperity and the unity of South Africans. Thank you.
Thank you very much, SG. At this point, I will take questions. Start to my right, Sunday World, followed by Samken. Yes.
Thanks. My name is Mawan. I work for the Sunday World. SG, maybe as a controversial interest, where does this passionate attack to Ms. Helen Zille comes from? Stems from maybe the trick, if you are able to put us at liberty. Not that I have any problem with it. I'm just interested. And then, secondly, in other political developments that we didn't address, we see what is happening there down the road here at Gandhi Square, at the EFF, where it seems like things are not so rosy anymore. If it were to happen, this is a very hypothetical, it's just an analyst in my mind, thinking out loud. If it were to happen, SG, that the remaining people in the EFF, such as its leader, Mr. Julius Malema, were to seek to come back to the ANC, would they be welcome in the current ANC of renewal that you lead, as it were, here at Lutuli House? And then lastly, the dual member of the ANC, Mr. Jacob Zuma, we understood that he was appealing last Friday. Can you confirm that the appeal indeed set, and when can we expect the outcome of that dual membership appeal? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mawande, SABC.
Samkele Masego from the SABC. Mr. Mbalula, the boldness in saying the DA can walk out today, tonight, is it because we are having discussions with another political formation down the road from here, your erstwhile best friend, Julius Silomali, in them joining the government of national unity or having some sort of working relationship, noting the onslaught they are facing from Umkondo, the CEO of Jacob Zuma? Paul Mashatile is going to appear before the Integrity Commission. Has he appeared before this Integrity Commission? What are the processes of his appearance before the Integrity Commission? Thirdly, have you and the Integrity Commission today finalized the terms of references of their scope as agreed to by the National Executive Committee? And also, have you set up the appeals body of the work of the Integrity Commission? Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll move to this side. I think it's SABC again.
Okay, my name is Ndego. I'm with the SABC. As Secretary General, you spent most of your time in the statement, especially mentioning the TA, or most of the entire time was dedicated to you responding to what Helen Zille was saying. But the big question is, it's not the first time that you find yourself as the ANC having to respond to what the TA through Helen Zille. Are you in an abusive relationship with the TA? Especially that every time Helen Zille has to say something and you have to respond. And I'm not English speaking, I'm Tshwane, I speak Setswana. At some point Helen Zille said, you are not in a grand quality, you are not in a GNU. We are not in the GNU with the ANC, we are in a grand coalition. But it seems it's only the ANC in its mind that says we are in a GNU. The DA, through Helen Zille, who happens to be an English-speaking person, says we are in a grand coalition, not a GNU. Do you think, or do you see that as really a disparaging remarks to say to the ANC that you seem not to understand what we are in? Keep on saying GNU. And maybe secondly, on the contaminated food stuff that refers to these children. Secretary General, is it because we are in this situation because of deregulation that we've seen over the past 30 years, where at some point, if we can't control something, we either legalize it or just allow it to happen? You can see at some point people would not drink in public, but you would go to township. I think 60% of the population is everyone drinks on the street. If you go to the city center, at some point people are not jaywalking. People are just crossing the road or whatever, because at some point we couldn't control jaywalking in Johannesburg. We couldn't even control drinking in public, peeing in public. Deregulation is a problem. Do you think maybe the biggest mistake that this democracy has done is to deregulate everything? And what are we saying 30 years into our democracy? To a black child, and sometimes when you talk about black and white, it's not because some of us were racist, it's just that we're concerned about this, the betterment of this race that happens to be black and my race. One wonders, what would have happened if all these kids that we've seen dying after eating this contaminated food, what would have happened if they happened to be white? And I'm not being inhuman when I say white children, but what I'm saying is, what would have happened? It's not the first time that we see these black kids dying. It's not even the first time that we see black kids like Mike Komabe, for instance, in Limpopo, who died in a pit like this. I'm just imagining if it was a white kid, what would have happened? Have we justified that black life is in fact cheap under this democracy? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will turn to, I don't see any hand. Okay, can I allow the SG to come on stream and then we will come back?
First, let me deal with the question. Thank you very much for the questions. with Mawande. First, the question of passionate attack on Zille, where does it come from? It is not a passionate attack, that is your own characterization. Where does it come from? It comes from the fact that there is lies trafficking by Helen Zille, and if we don't respond to that, it then becomes a fact in the minds of our people, and that is what we actually need to deal with. We respect each other as the two political parties. We respect the DA, and we don't expect the DA to agree with the ANC. We have repeatedly said that the GNU is not a melting pot, and I'm repeating it even now, that the DA can campaign against certain policies and will want to use the GNU arrangement to reverse transformation in our country. We knew that attempt will be made, but it will be resisted. And that resistance is reflected in what you characterize as passion. It's not passion, it's what the ANC is. And in this particular instance, we have recognized that we didn't lose power. We didn't lose power. We were reduced in our majority to the largest party, not with overwhelming majority. And in doing so, we prioritize South Africa first. And prioritizing South Africa first, you work with everyone in the recognition of the fact that you can work with the DA, but it does not mean you can be a prisoner of DA. So we chose a model that works for everybody. Come to the party, and the fact of the matter is that in that model, the DA and the ANC are dominant political parties. It is the ANC followed by the DA in that particular arrangement, and all other political parties. And that's what we need to understand. We've got no arrangement with Malema in terms of the GNU, and there's no discussion between us and the EFF. Neither are we entertaining their situation as a political party. So it's them and only them who understand themselves better. So we are not there. They can speak for themselves about what they want and what they don't want. We last had a discussion with Malema when we were exploring and when we were discussing, when Floyd was still there, about GNU and so on. So we don't have any discussions with the EFF about this country and its future at the present moment. So that's it. Zuma and the appeal. Zuma have appealed. The matter is in the NDCA, and we leave it there. So once the NDCA finalizes its processes and Zuma's appeal, they will inform us accordingly in terms of the argument, whether or not he wins or not. And so in our books, I repeat, Zuma is expelled. He's not a member of the ANC. He has appealed that decision. So in our books, he's not our member. He's expelled. SABC, whether DA can go, it is informed by this Sabelo, that Samkele, that we did not negotiate with everybody with a cap in the hand. We negotiated honestly and openly, and we informed South Africans. Helen Zille is peddling a false narrative, for instance, that the President Ramaphosa is indebted to the DA for protecting him from the EFF and MK party. Here is the truth. When we negotiated with all political parties, in the DA in particular, which we explained to you, the DA said to us there are red lines, one of which is that EFF and MK party is a no-go area. That's what the Helen Zille said to us, not us saying it to her. Helen Zille said to us there are red lines. What are the red lines? EFF and MK party. We said if that is your condition, we don't subscribe to that. We'll engage with the MK party and the EFF, including yourselves. EFF, on the other hand, said that the DA is a red line, but we can work with them against you. That's Floyd. He said so. It's a red line, but we can work with them against you. So it was a scarecrow. They forgot that we've got 40%, and that 40% doesn't allow us to be intimidated with things like writing exams and all of that, like it happened in the past. So we said, go away with your scarecrow, let's sit down and talk. We went to Zille and his delegation and said that to us cannot be a redliner. We will talk to MK, we'll talk to to everybody, and we don't owe it to you. We'll engage. And that is what is important. Now, Helen Zille says that if business had their own fears post the elections about the possible ANC, EFF, MK party alliance, it's their fears. It's got nothing to do with the ANC. The ANC chose the path of a government of national unity. That's got nothing to do with the ANC. And peddling those lies and trafficking them fast and furious, like Zille is doing, it becomes a fact in the mindset of the people. Like others have been peddling lies that we had a deal with the DA, where there is a deal, this thing is a pact, and all of that. There is no such. There is no such. We engaged, informed by our own perspective. That said to us that we are in this situation where we did not win overwhelming majority. What are the options before us? And we chose the government of national unity. Do we love the government of national unity or any other model that we came across in terms of our own discussion? We don't. Now, for anyone to say, including our friends in the left, represented by Mapaila, that we love GNU, we protect GNU, we defend GNU, it is very much worrisome coming from a person of Mapaila's caliber, because he should understand what is a strategic goal and tactical maneuver. He must argue in that tactical maneuver, as he would have argued, that he doesn't think that DA must constitute that. It's another debate. But to argue that a tactical maneuver is equal to a strategic goal, it's very disturbing. It's actually ideological bankruptcy, to say the least. So these distortions have gone on, and in this particular instance, if they are sustained forever and ever, they become a reality on the part of society in general and broadly the young and upcoming cadreship of our party and membership, that the ANC has got a deal that it hatched over the years with the DA. And this question of GNU is not an accident. It is something that has been hatched over time, which again, it must be rebutted, because it's a matter that was argued thoroughly, informed by our own perspectives, and we came to this particular conclusion. Now, to equate GNU to the same level as thinking that GNU is the beginning and the end, we love it with passion, and then that is it. No, it's incorrect. We have said GNU can stand, and we believe that others whom are fellow travelers in this GNU, they will decide at some point to get away of it, as it would have happened even in the transitional period in our country. At some point, the National Party did not go with us all the way. If the DA Samkelo decide tonight or tomorrow they want to leave, we can't stop them. Because they came here maybe with high expectations that they will run over the ANC, and then we will forsake our large numbers and basically succumb to everything. It's not possible. It's not possible. And that is why we have developed a clearinghouse for engagement, and that is why we are engaging with political parties where we differ with them on issues. So the question of where it comes from, about tonight or tomorrow, it comes from that context, that if the ANC doesn't want to stay in the GNU and all of that, it is up to the ANC to make that decision. It's up to the DA to make that particular decision. It is not the ANC. And then I think, again, the question of Helen Zille, she has been at pains trying to project the GNU as an arrangement of expediency between the ANC and the DA. She must advocate for what the DA wanted to achieve. The DA wanted an arrangement between the ANC and them. And then the ANC said, no, let's work with everybody. And that is the issue. That's where we are. So, wanting to prove that otherwise it is something that we believe is not matured for our democracy is basically taking us back. We are moving forward now. If the DA, through Helen Zille, decide that they want to opt out of the GNU, it will be their decision. But the GNU will continue to govern this country and work with everybody. And there is stability in the country. There is excellent work that we can see, building on the 6th administration going forward, and that is it. And DA ministers in the GNU have been running their own campaign. We are not worried about that. We are not worried about that. We don't spend sleepless nights. If a minister given a portfolio is doing a marvelous job, South Africans, that's what they want. If ANC ministers are seen in the GNU not delivering, it means the ANC must deal with that as a party. We don't spend sleepless nights chasing ministers in the GNU and about this and that, claiming things and so on and so on. We are interested in a government that works for the people. And we know in that government we are a majority. And we've got no excuse not to deliver for South Africans. With our majority, we must deliver for South Africans. And that is why we must not be perturbed by a DA minister who says, I've done this and that. And you look at it, you realize that, but this thing we have done it long time ago. But they say today they are doing it. We will not call a press conference and say, no, Macpherson is lying. He has not done this thing. No, history will judge him. What we want is a government that works for the people, and that's what we support as the ANC. We didn't have any secret arrangement with the DA. We had talks about talks, and we engaged. And that's what is important. So opportunists and many others, people and all of that who want to distort things, they want to reduce this thing, because it's opportunism, that there was a secret arrangement between the ANC and the DA. We had talks with Helen Zille, and is one of the first political parties, EFF and everybody, we started to talk to earlier on. It was important to talk to her and the DA because they came second in relation to the election. And the EFF and Jacob Zuma party and all of that, they then followed. We then gave them a GNU arrangement. Others came in, others decided not to come in. And that's it. And then we moved on. We are not standing here with a cap in our hand even today. And that is what maybe may define the passion. We don't have a cap in the hand, no. Maybe you define it about, we're not. We are principled. We are principled in relation. We went with this arrangement with our eyes opened. But we are not going to we are not going to have people who come at us, eating us piece by piece with lies. You know, we are slepula mus, uti, uramaphosa, yek. And then you leave us like that. And then it becomes a topic that, you know, this was a product of capital. Let me tell you, we engaged capital over and above Helen Zille, we as the ANC. And there was no concession. And we told them what we think of them. Because the product that we ended up with in terms of the post-election, that's what they worked for. They sponsored political parties in this country. They supported them against the ANC to reduce our majority. That's what they wanted. It's an open secret. We campaigned very hard to win. with outright majority, our own subjective weaknesses affected us. We were not defeated by capital. We were defeated by our own. And you know what I'm talking about. And that is what has actually happened here. So capital with their sponsored projects, those projects fall apart. Moonshot did not work. Did it work? Moonshot, it didn't. It was there, moonshot. What worked was Zuma in this election. Moonshot fall apart with all the support it had from capital, sponsored. It fell apart. And then the matured political parties came around the table, embraced the idea, we work for it. For instance, the DA said to us, let's call this a multi-party government. We said, what is the difference between multi-party and GNU? Let's not spend time on useless concepts. It's one and the same thing. And then they said that we want a marriage between us and you. We said no. And then they said, no, why do you sign with other political parties? We said it's our call. We signed with the DA. And then Helen Zille started first to dispute everything in the intent, what inclusivity means and all of that. And then when the parties were growing up to 10, he said, no, that is not what we envisaged. Then we went ahead. And then back and forth, you remember the letters which were leaked. And then we told them, through our president, take it or leave it. You can go. I'm not saying something that was never said. If she forget, that letter is there. We respect political parties who serve in the GNU, their independence, including their opposition to ANC policies. But we've got no mandate to sell out. That's not our mandate. Our mandate is to keep this together for South Africans and stability and to advance transformation. We've got a clearinghouse to debate issues. Bella Bill. President gave 3 months and said, resolve these clauses. We are now in negotiations with the Freedom Front Plus, Solidarity and AfriForum. They organize a march to Voortrekker Hoogte with old colors. They call themselves in a democratic South Africa. They bring the old apartheid flag. And we negotiate with them this Bella Bill. And they act on the clauses that they don't agree with. This bill has gone through Parliament. We are very much reasonable. President came to us, we agreed with the president that give them 3 months, we are in talks with them. They are talking to the ANC. We've got a panel of discussions. Even in the clearinghouse, they are dealing with the matter. They organize a march with old apartheid colors. They threaten stability of the country because they can't get their way through. They knew that the ANC being there, we will not compromise on the agenda of the National Democratic Revolution. We will not. And that is where we stand. The DA was invited to the party in the same manner the ANC invited all other parties to the table, including the EFF and Zuma party and many other parties. Subsequent 9 other parties accepted the statement of intent and the GNU. Now we have a clearinghouse, and then the psychological warfare being waged by Zille is premised on the DA's failure to reconcile its role as a party to the GNU, which must serve all South Africans, and its desire to weaken the ANC. There's a conflict there in Zille's soul. We are part of government, of GNU. Will we survive this government? And also, on the other hand, we must build from the carcass of the ANC and become stronger. And that is the conflict that she's faced with, and that she's seeking to manage by way of dropping snippets there and there. We are not deterred by that. That's the question of GNU, it's a decision of us all. And when it comes to the African National Congress, I can tell you now that we hate GNU. The fact that I must be woken up by an opposition leader every day about this and that, I don't like it. But that's how democracy is. It humbles you. You see, we didn't win Johannesburg. That Mashaba said he will never work with the ANC. And I said, hey, Mashaba ranks, this thing you are saying will give you palpitations. And then we're in a panel, you remember in Rosebank, I said, leave this thing that you won't work with everyone. Today we are working together in Tshwane. With Mashaba, we are Shaba ranks. We are working there. But he vowed that, no, he will never work with the ANC. And let us not distort the conceptual and ideological understanding of what is GNU. GNUs and coalitions are formed by political parties not of the same political and ideological background. In their very nature, they are formed by rival political parties. If I were to choose who I want to work with and want to work with alone on ideological basis, it's nothing near to the arrangement that we have. Okay? It's nothing near to the arrangement that we have, because our allies are not even contesting for elections. They are not even in government. They are outside. Our people put us below 40%. And then they said that go and work with all South Africans. And that is why we are here today. So we are not in these things by choice. The other choice we had was the one of Grand Coalition. We have been driven towards. Even Grand Coalition, there's no ideology there. You can choose to work with Zuma and work with Malema. There's no ideology there. You work with them because you think you can achieve something out of that. Okay? You work in the GNU. The rest of the other political parties, including the ANC, are stable in the GNU. Abantu abakhabalazayo nje nguzile. And then that's it. We accept that. But we don't expect the DA to change and become ANC in the GNU. We expect them to contest because it's a contested terrain. But at the end of the day, you can't expect the ANC to just become a subservient and all of that. The task is to transform and stabilize this country. Services must be delivered. Our people must be served. We've got governments at local government level in this country that are not serving our people. Completely unstable. The mayor is changing every weekend. As we also go into these governments, we are wary of that. And that is why we opened a discussion of stability with the DA and other political parties. How do we stabilize local government going forward? Because in reality, if we go into government stability, the bigger majority parties, if they come together, there will be stability because the two are in charge. But if you go with smaller political parties that are shortchanged from time to time about this and that and deals under the table, there is no stability guaranteed there. But we know that the major political parties, if they come together and say, let's govern, the people, this is the will of the people, there will be stability for 5 years. We can differ about this and that, but there will be stability. Government will govern, and it will deliver for the people. Paul Mashatile, I'm not even aware when he's going to the Integrity Commission. I think Samkelo, the person who gives you that report must give you feedback as to when Paul Mashatile is a deputy president. He didn't tell me that he's going to Integrity, but there's nothing wrong. Because when people go to Integrity and they are summoned by the Integrity Commission, they don't seek the permission of the Secretary General. It's fine. I don't sit with them. So I'm saying, as a principled issue, I don't dictate who goes to the Integrity. The Integrity Commission does its job without fear or favor. And they call people, and people present themselves. So I've got no mandate to account for that. So what I account for is the reports that come from the Integrity Commission about their recommendations, and that somebody has presented themselves and this is the recommendation. That's all. We don't discuss the movements of people. That's it. Integrity Commission, the terms of reference have been finalized. Earlier on this morning, I met with the full component of the Integrity Commission. We will make our discussions public in the next coming weeks with the chair of the Integrity Commission. We presented to them the terms of reference and the reports of the NEC on the Integrity Commission. And we will brief the media as and when will be directed by Mahlengi in the next coming weeks on the matters of the Integrity Commission. We have also dealt with the appeals matter in terms of that. So there is clarity about these issues going forward. We'll report to the officials on Monday and the NWC on the engagement of that meeting. Ntebu, Ellen Zille said we're not in a GNU but a grand coalition. Is this existing in our own mind, figmentation, or is it she knows that this is not a grand coalition. It's not a grand coalition. It's a GNU led by the ANC, led by ANC as the largest party. Now, even yourselves, Ntebu, I think you guys are well educated. I mean, you should know what is a grand coalition and a GNU. A grand coalition is when two political parties come together and form government. It didn't happen in South Africa. We've got even the party with one seat in the GNU. That's GNU. And when we're discussing this, even in the ANC, post agreeing on the principle, we said, how are we going to appear to be genuine in the face, in the public of South Africa, if we take everything and just micromanage others, give them deputy there and all of that? We have honored all political parties that have got numbers, and also those that have got attachment to us because of our liberation movement background, like PAC. We said we can't bring PAC into government and give them a post. All posts are important, let me not mention, and so on. And then give them a post like, let me say, deputy in government as the PAC, liberation movement. We come from the trenches with these comrades. They might not have the numbers, but we must honor that in principle. So we brought them in the GNU. We did not even bring them. Parties brought themselves in. Other political parties chose, we don't want to be part of government. We don't want to be part of government. Songazo Zibi was very clear. Rise Mzansi, you will probably be a minister or a deputy now. Rise Mzansi was very clear. We don't want to be part of government. We will play our role in the legislature. And Escopa, that's where they are. We have honored that. We and the DA, we are in government. At the same time, we are in the legislature. They are checking on us. We are checking on them in terms of government. So our arrangement is a GNU with special characteristics of supply and confidence. That's what you have here. You have government that is there and also in the legislature. The DA, for instance, could have taken a decision to say that we want to be in the legislature, we want to chair committees. You guys run a minority government, we'll support you. We'll elect Ramaphosa as president and all of that and so on, but we will be in the legislature to keep you in check. Remember, for any options, there are risks. And if you are below 50, you cannot run the show like as if you are alone. Even if the ANC were to run minority government, you must give up the legislature to be in check by the opposition. You can't have them both. When you've got outright majority, you can have them both. You can be in the legislature, appoint your committees, you can run government. Minority government means you are forsaking one part, which is legislature. Speaker will be Speaker of the DA. Other committees will be dominated by the DA, but you will run government. And I'm told that is what some of the people preferred. But they chose that we will be in both. So we are moving forward, and with all the 10 political parties or so in the government of national unity. Lastly, on the contaminated foodstuffs, the ANC is saying we have been dealing with this situation of spaza shops, but only from a perspective of illegal immigrants in our country who have wiped out all the small business people in the townships who used to own these spaza shops and replaced them. Why? Why did that happen? It happened because they come into your township, they sell cheaper goods, and then in terms of pricing, your old father's spaza shop and a guy who come from Sudan or wherever, Somalia and so on, who's owning a spaza shop in the township cannot compete with Mkhize, who for years owned a spaza shop in the township. Ubabu Mkhize still goes to the same wholesale, different wholesale, from where Mahmoud, they don't even call themselves that. Spaza shop sipalwe Jola. That spaza shop that is owned by this guy cannot compete with this one. And this one is giving people iskolot. The businesses Zabantu Baguti in the local townships collapsed. And then these ones, they become stronger. Their things are cheap. And then it was discovered over time that they are expired. But which wholesale is supplying these people? And then you go to the market, but the phones we can't trace when we're chasing criminals. Where is this phone? In the market. Illegal stuff they are doing here in the country. As the ANC, with all of those things, we are saying, as we regulate the environment, close the spaza shops, let everything open from fresh, and at the same time, with the same standards, regulatory framework in the country, which is what is now being implemented. So that we know that the spaza shop in the street here, that is here, it's illegal or legal. How can the people be killed in their townships by businesses in the form of spaza shops that they don't know whether they are legal or illegal? Our people respond to the fact that things are cheap here. And this person can give me a debt without any qualms up to 500. I pay him month end. But these things are cheap. Mkhize uyadura. I'm no longer going there. Eventually Mkhize closes the shop. In my township where I come from in Botshabelo, the spaza shops and supermarkets that were owned by black people, when I went there, right, I found that somebody else is owning them. And the shop is full. You will never find them empty. It's full. Now, that's the crisis we are facing. We are saying that let us not cry foul like as if we are not in power. We must act. Law enforcement, let the spaza shops close down, and then open them through the regulatory framework that we've got, and government must lead. Society must support on the ground this approach. Because government regulates, it must lead in that particular regard. Because we know what are the problems. We know what are the problems. Now, if we want our people to blame it on us, we must leave it like that. And we can't, as the ANC, allow that. We have said to our comrades in government, we need a clear report like we got it in the NEC. How far have you gone? We know now, we have discovered there is a poisonous thing which is given a name, I don't know. Last time you laughed at me when I couldn't pronounce it. I don't want to pronounce it again today, Mahlengi. So I don't know what is it called. NICD, through Mutsualedi, have pronounced in terms of what is this poisonous substance that has been found. And people have been arrested. That is most welcome. But our people are able to show us that I ate this tin stuff and it has actually expired in a spaza shop, this and that. We see these things on social media. The task of government is to act and provide leadership. From now on, we will need answers. We will need answers in relation to why are we unable to act and give direction on spaza shops. Let's give direction like we did with COVID-19, we did with every time. When people were dying here with COVID, whether you like it or not, we introduced regulations. And we're able to minimize the scourge of death among our communities. And that is it. We introduced vaccines. Even till today, we're still under attack. But everybody came to appreciate. The spaza shops must go that direction. It doesn't start now. 2019, we had this problem. Yeah, in Soweto, in Naledi, people died from spaza shops. And then it went quiet. It's back now. We can't operate like that. If we win the people and we serve the people, we don't do things because we want to win votes. We win the people because we want to demonstrate the capability of government and the state to intervene. Now, if our deployees are not moving, we must tell them that you are failing the ANC, you are failing the people of South Africa. Act and act decisively on spaza shops. You don't need to be commanded on that particular thing. They must act. They've got a mandate. From the NEC, we debated this thing. We gave them a clear mandate. Act and act decisively. Children are dying. Yesterday or the other week, it is Katlehong. Now we must lament and complain like as if we are not in power. No. There in Ekurhuleni, we are running a local government there in Ekurhuleni. With the national government, let's descend. Close these spaza shops. Everywhere in the country, spaza shop nomnigas was. They must come forward. If you don't have the necessary documentation properly regulated, higher must be closed. If you are illegal, Amba Kai. So that's what needs to happen. That's what needs to happen. I'm not even want to talk about the economics of spaza shops. I don't want to talk about, because we're talking about a crisis now. The economics of spaza shops in terms of local economy and all of that, the impact this make in terms of local business and small businesses, it's another debate altogether that Stella is driving. But in relation to regulating this environment and having spaza shops that are feeding poison, literally, to our people, no, we can't allow that. The ANC can't allow that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, SG. I still see a hand, so I'll have you, my brother. And there was it yourself you covered now? Okay, that's fine. You are protected here at Lutuli House.
They are abusing me before.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you very much. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mahlengi. I'm Hawalo Mawalo from UFN. SG, I think you are the one who's at pains to explain that this is not a grand coalition, it's a GNU. You'd agree that ever since this government took office, week in, week out, you've had to convene a presser, either to rebut directly something that is said by LNZ or someone else in the DA, or what you seem to, whether it's Mr. Mapaila also. But on the question of the isolation of the president. It's actually not Mr. Mapaida that is isolating the president, it's Zille herself. Because there's a well-publicized clip where she says that, well, Ramaphosa asked us to use this GNU concept so that he could win his colleagues in the ANC into endorsing it, but us and him, it's them that are isolating the president, and even now she's isolating him at a very serious level, because if you look at it, this essentially means that big capital has given us Ramaphosa as a president is to be protected against EFF and others. Considering how serious this allegation is, does it get to a point where in the officials perhaps the president takes you into confidence, even if it's to merely confirm if such a conversation happened between himself and anyone in the DA? Perhaps the conversation took place, but the DA misunderstood it. He said no, they thought he said yes. And moving on, but still on GNU, that march in Pretoria seemed to have offended a lot of people, particularly the brandishing of apartheid-era symbols, including yourself. How's the ANC sitting back and allowing such to take place? Because it seems you are offended yourself. How are you not helpless in the situation? Because if you were in control, surely the might of the state should have went in there and made sure that it did not happen. And then moving to the other march, the People's March, I saw that your poster came out around the same time on Twitter with the one of the SACP. Same location, same date, same march, but being done. That appeared to be competition, and it was getting a lot of traction, and you quickly came back and posted something to the effect that it was postponed. It seemed rather clumsy in my view. Exactly what happened there is the ANC now in competition with the SACP, because historically you would have spoken at the SACP walk, and equally they would have enjoyed similar platform at your own march, but seemingly now you are only going to have yours separately. Is Mapaida going to speak at the ANC walk?
October month, it is SACP. Red October. If we went ahead with that march, which is conceptualized by our comrades in Tshwane, you would have said it's competition. So we stopped it. We said, no, we can't have similar marches on the same day. Besides, we must respect the SACP. And then we issued a statement by our comrades in Tshwane, and we said to them that they must join the SACP march, which they did. And Comrade Panyaza was also there to join the SACP march. So there's no competition. It's just that the march was conceptualized long time ago, and we said to comrades, if you go ahead with this march, it's just going to fuel the perceptions that are negative out there, and then just make them a reality, that indeed there is a friction. They even compete about the masses of our people and the issues that affect the same pace. So the reality of the matter, October month, it is SACP Red October campaign. So the ANC had to respect that, and that has been done. So tomorrow's People's March has been conceptualized. Since we have been part of government, comrades have mobilized society, because most of our communities, in and around Tshwane, we remember we had a big march in Tshwane, where we were calling for Brink to get out, and so on. It was a big march. Now this is a follow-up. Now that we have come into power, we are saying to our people and the coalition, serve our communities, because if you go to those areas, Mamelodi, Atteridgeville, Soshanguve, you will feel that the period these coalitions have been in power have affected those communities in a big way in terms of service delivery. I've been there. I don't I'm not getting lectured about that from anywhere else. I've seen what setback we've suffered with the ANC being out of power in Tshwane. So the People's March was conceptualized, and we were invited to lead by our region in Tshwane. So it was postponed to this Friday, and it was made public, and there was a statement to that effect that our comrades must support the SACP, and we are happy that it happened like that. Don't do it because you are fueling to perceptions that are out there. Pressure to rebut. There is no pressure to rebut. Let me explain to you once more because it is important. The government of national unity, it is a model that has been agreed to by the ANC, and it has been implemented, all right? And it includes all political parties. And that is not the only model. And we had other models, grand coalition, minority government, opposition, rerunning of the election. Those are the models that we have. And then we agreed on government of national unity. I will continue to clear the confusion. Where government of national unity is elevated to a strategic goal, not a tactical intervention. And therefore, it is defined as a sellout position. Okay? Now, by those who define it as such. Now, the ANC has never been in favor to be below 50% or in favor of a GNU or a grand coalition. We are in favor of outright majority. Any of these options will not serve our strategic goal to govern South Africa with outright majority. Will not. But what we did with the GNU was to serve South Africa and put in the people of South Africa first in terms of this. We invited everybody to that GNU, and that's what has actually happened. The reason I'm explaining Helen Zille and what he says, including about the president and so on, the issue of the GNU was debated and discussed through a perspective in the National Executive Committee. It was not imposed by the president of the ANC. And if I have to explain to you how it happened, is that we constituted a task team as the ANC that was led by the Secretary General. And in that task team, we had about 7 to 10 comrades. And in the task team, we had 4 of the officials except the president and the deputy president. The task team developed a perspective, and then we took the perspective which, on behalf of the task team and the officials and the NWC, I presented to the NEC. It was not the Ramaphosa idea that was planted in our heads. You see, when you run a cult, you know that all things come from the cult. And if you differ with the cult, you are guillotined. And you know cult organizations, how they operate here in our country. New and old, don't say you don't know. You know them. You know cult organizations. They decide about you even without any other process. So they guillotine you from the organization. The ANC doesn't operate like that. So President Ramaphosa wouldn't have brought an idea and say that, let's follow the idea, my people. I'm hoodwinking you to this idea. Remember, before we came to this discussion, we had our own discussion document on coalitions. And you must read that document. It's a perspective that we adopted for local government. And for the first time in Cape Town, I represented the ANC and I spoke about grand coalition. And it became a topical issue. Will you apply grand coalition or what mechanism for national government? We said we are fighting for outright majority. So when we arrived at the NEC, we presented the options And then we look at the option and the risks. And my brother, I can go through these options one by one and the risks that we mapped out. You can have a one-on-one discussion with me. And I'll explain to you why GNU, it doesn't mean that it does not have its own risk. It became an important option for the ANC. So we didn't go into it blindfolded. And we knew that some will not come in. They will rather opt out because they just want an arrangement. We didn't want an arrangement. We wanted a commitment to stabilize the country. And that is what is important for us. And so I'm just explaining to you that Mapaila and what he says, it cannot be the same as Helen Zille, because Zille is an opponent of the ANC. And that is why I've got to clarify Zille and what he says in the public domain, not secretly, about the ANC and its president. Mapaila and me and the broader ANC, we've got platforms to engage and to clarify our perspectives about these particular issues. So if he goes in public and attack the president as though it's inimical, this president is an enemy, and this president isolate him from the ANC, he is weakening the ANC, not Ramaphosa. And that's what he does. And so that's why we've got the bilateral to understand this thing. Now, if SACP on daily basis, through Mapaila and us, we can attack each other like it does, and every platform it takes to attack the ANC leadership, venomously so, acrobatic, if you can mention it, like a scissors kick in a soccer match. What should we do? We cannot allow certain things to build up and be allowed as a fact. Me and Zille, we will argue and differ forever and ever, and for whatever that she represents. The fact that I found myself around the table with her, I respect the will of the people. But that doesn't make me love GNU. The only thing that can take me out of GNU is the majority rule, which is in the next election. And that's what I'm working towards, together with the collective in the African National Congress. We invited all political parties, and they agreed to come. We engaged. We adopted a statement of intent. And that's what has happened to South Africa. You should be boiling, when you saw those colors at Voortrekker, for what it reminds us, where we come from. So people marching in full gear of apartheid colors, you will understand that these are the people in a democratic South. Why didn't they march with South African flag? They don't believe in it. Don't we have a flag? Rainbow Nation. They marched to Voortrekker. There was no South African flag there. There was old apartheid flag. They were draped, not just even a flag, draped in their bodies in terms of orange, blue, and white, marching at Voortrekker hoogte in full gear of old apartheid flag. Now, all peace-loving South Africans must reject that. We defeated apartheid, and that on its own was a reflection of backwardness at best. It's not a question that we're angry or whatever that it is. Lastly, GNU is not a melting pot. It doesn't mean that we've got rules that political parties will not oppose each other. And that political parties who are in the GNU must just go in parliament and have an arrangement to agree with everything that the ANC wants. There's no such. DA has got the right to differ with the ANC, Freedom Front, PA, and so on. just like it happened. When it comes to the Bella Bill and the NHI, which NHI is law, the Bella Bill will be signed in this country. Yes, after 3 months, President said that. If you don't find each other, it will be signed as it is. And go and talk about these two clauses. And then after 3 months, I hope you will have found each other. But I'm signing it. So it is there. It will be implemented. It has already been signed. So it means from signing, it's implementation. So that's what happens. But if the ANC had won power outrightly, we wouldn't be here, where we have to negotiate things and so on. And so that's what it is actually happening. The only point is the question of distortions about where we are and what we need to do going forward. Thank you.
I'd like to thank you at this point, members of the media. I believe we have a date in Tshwane tomorrow. Thank you very much, you are adjourned.
Ngubane benifuna wamudiyanyewa. Mudiyanyewa wabasuthu.